So what we're aiming to do today is develop a common understanding of system change and understand what your role in that system is. So Martin, I think, is going to explain what the onion is, and this is just teasing you. You'll be thinking, "Ooh, what's the onion? That's really interesting." And that the whole day will be run for you to think deeply about what's happening. And particularly your role in the system is really, really important, and that's how we've structured the day for you to think about your role and the role of your organisation in system change. So I just wanted to tee it up a bit. I put this slide in pretty much every presentation I do, regardless of the subject, because I quite like it. So there was some research done by a guy called Nicholas Christakis about 10 or 15 years ago about the importance of networks and relationships and how our behaviour affects the behaviour of other people. So if your friend is obese, your risk of being obese increases by 45%. And the same goes for drinking, voter behaviour, attitudes on race, pretty much any behaviour. You are influenced by the people that you know and who you have relationships with. But it goes deeper than that, because if your friend's friend is obese, your risk of being obese increases by 25%. So this might be somebody you don't even know, but because they're part of your network, their behaviour influences your behaviour, and your behaviour influences their behaviour as well. And then it goes another step further, that if your friend's friend's friend, so you probably won't know them at all, is obese or votes in a particular way or smokes or whatever it happens to be, your risk of being obese increases by 10%. So our behaviour, the quote from Christakis is, "The network acts like a living organism." Any talk of system change or systems, it's not about hierarchical diagrams or relationship map. Well, it is about that, because we're going to talk about that. But it's important to remember that any system is populated by people. It's populated by us. And how we behave affects how that system behaves. So everybody will be aware, if you work in a reasonably big organisation, there's the hierarchical structure of the organisation, and then there's the people that really have power. So some of the people in the powerful positions in the hierarchy have power, but then there'll be the guy in legal, or the guy in somewhere else, or the woman in somewhere else that actually has a whole load of power exerted, or somebody who knows loads of people that has a lot of power. So what we do is really critical to what the system does, which is why what you are going to do to make system change happen is really, really important. So the approach that we've taken is that there's bits of content that we want you to listen to, as you're doing very well now, but we also have structured it so there's work for you to get involved in. So please get involved in that work. As I say, we are the system. And we've deliberately tried to structure it so there isn't death by feedback, because we've all been to conferences like this where the first table says something and then the second table says, well, they've said everything that we said, but then goes on to repeat it all again, and the energy drops like a stone. So we don't want to do that. So we're not going to go big on the feedback, but please don't take that as meaning that we're not interested in what you've got to say, because there will be a report at the end of this that everybody will get. So we are interested in what you've got to say, but we don't want to bore the pants off everybody going around 15 tables or whatever we've got in here to hear the same message each time. So the plan is basically set on this is listening, that dog is listening, and action. So that's what we want to do. So Martin's going to set the context of what our local delivery pilot is here to do, and how we got here. And then Nick is going to talk about what a whole system approach is. So Nick's a nationally renowned academic who you've got the fortune to hear for free. I don't know if he ever charges, I don't know where he is, but you're hearing him for free, and he knows his stuff. So he'll really lift our understanding of what a system is and what we mean by a system. And then there's some work for you to do using the Sport England definition of what a system is. And we've got a number of very, very simple case studies for you to think about how does the system influence the behaviour of the people within the case studies. There are only 1 or 2 sentences, but you'll really get a sense of how important the system is to enabling people to behave in a particular way. Then Kelly's going to talk about real-world system change, not in an activity context, not to do with physical activity. I think it's to do with falls, but just to give you an idea of a real-world case of system change in action. And then it's down to you again to consider what it is that you can do to contribute to system change, and that's really, really critical. The name of the conference being "Something Has to Change," and it's us we're the system, or at least some of the system, so our behaviour and how we work is really, really critical. Then we've got lunch by my place, which is vegetarian. We couldn't sway Dr. Fishpool any other way. Apparently it's best for the planet, so we're all doing our bit for the planet, and it will be very tasty, I'm sure. And if it's not, you can all round on Mark Fishpool later. I can't see where he is to point him out to, but we'll have him carry a big arrow around pointing to him afterwards. And then in the afternoon, Chris Perks from Sport England will come and give the Sport England perspective and why this is so interesting, what we're doing and the other 11 pilots, what they're doing and how it's basically developing Sport England strategy for the next 5 to 10 years, the learning that comes from what we're doing. And they're very clear that we need to be ambitious and some things that we do will fail. So it's really, really refreshing to be working with Sport England in this way, that we're working and designing this together. And then Gary's going to tell us about the power of whole system change, which is a video which we think is really important because this is some of the work that they've done in Plymouth, where they've actually got a whole system across health and social care. So again, it's not physical activity, but it just gives you a sense of what whole system change looks like within that context. And then it's over to you again to consider what the challenges and opportunities of working in this way are. And then a panel for you to, if there's questions burning away after the day that you want to test your understanding of what you've heard today, or there's something that concerns you, or there's something that you think's exciting that you want to ask the panel about, then please ask. And we won't know everything, and hopefully we won't make it up if we don't know it, but that's to test the understanding in the room of what we've talked about. And then there's your pledge. What is it that you're going to do for the movement of change? And I think we're probably going to take those in and then send them back to you in 3 months' time, and you'll go, oh, bloody hell, I did say that, didn't I? But this is part of trying to get you to change your behaviour such that the system changes so we can help make the least active more active. And then Peter Kelly's going to speak from a Public Health England perspective and wrap up at the end, and then we can all go away with a spring in our step and a song in our heart. And then what we thought at the Project Management Office was that we've got to be aware that change is uncomfortable, and what we tend to talk about is it's a clash between the old and the new worlds. And I've got a kangaroo on there because there's a story that I really like. I don't actually think it's true, but I still like it, and I'm still going to tell it. Apparently, when Captain Cook landed in Australia and saw a kangaroo, he asked a passing Aborigine, what the hell's that? And the Aborigine said, kangaroo. Oh, great, it's a kangaroo, okay. Kangaroo apparently is Aborigine for, I don't know what you're talking about. So that is, in a small scale example, we will start to develop a different way of speaking, a different way of thinking. There'll be bits of the old world that we have to shift, that will take a time to shift, and we've got to be prepared for that. So a lot of places have difficulty with areas like procurement, stuff like that, so there will be bits of each of our organisations that make it more difficult for us to move the system and then keep that movement in the place where it's gone to. So that's the challenge for us, is to change what we're doing, change how we work, change our organisations, change the systems, and then get this massive improvement in physical activity in South Tees. Thank you. I think it's back to Mark. Thank you.